Hi, I'm Hannah, and you are listening to the L&D Leaders Podcast. We talk about what it really takes to make learning collaborative, connected to everyday work, and part of how organizations actually grow. In today's episode, we are diving into what it really means to lead learning in a large, complex organization and also what it takes to build future capabilities at scale. My guest for today is Katarina Noén, Head of Learning for Sweden at Ericsson. Welcome, Katarina. I am really glad to have you with me today.
Yes, I'm very happy to be here. So thanks for inviting me.
Great. Katarina, you have a deep background in sales, leadership enablement, and transformation. And after I have gotten to know you during the past months, I have really admired your way to see learning as a part of a bigger system, how people and performance and strategy development are all connected together. So today we will talk about what leading in uncertainty looks like in practice. How do we build those future capabilities, and also how learning can really stay connected to real business priorities? But when we're diving deeper into those topics, I would like to ask you to introduce yourself briefly. Who are you? Tell us a bit about yourself and what are the themes that you are working with today?
Absolutely. As you said, one of my roles actually is being the head of learning for Sweden. And the other one is quite a lot of work that I'm also doing for our global organization when it comes to our strategic learning initiatives. That is a collaborative effort that we are doing between 4 universities in Sweden and also Saab, ABB, and Volvo Group, where we are working on our top experts and making sure they have what they need and that they can collaborate and network and learn from that.
Oh, yes, that sounds really inspiring, and I can't wait to really get deeper into those themes. But my plan is to get started with the warming up questions.
Mm.
So if we start with rapid questions, short answers, I hope quite easy questions as well. So which teacher, coach, or mentor had the biggest impact on you during your career, and why is that?
That is a very good question, because first of all, I must say mentoring is really close to my chest. And I think that is also an excellent way of learning. I think I need to go back 25, 30 years, actually. And we got a new leader at the place where I was working then. I was in finance at the time, so actually far away from learning. We also had a learning department. And I felt like this is something I really want to do. I feel this is something I could really be passionate about instead of the numbers, actually. So when I had a chance, I spoke to our leader there and I said, look, I want to be a part of this. And he said, okay, well, I have limited time, as you can imagine, but I believe in you and I know you can do this. And you have my, I don't know, carte blanche to go and learn what you need to learn. And you do it, and then you can tell me how it went. And that was actually how I started my teaching career instead of being in finance. And that way of feeling that somebody believes in you and you feel that there is also a safety net if something goes wrong, and it's okay to make a mistake. And that is something I have brought with me, all the time I've been working, and you can do things. You mind at something and you do it and you try and you learn from your mistakes.
Oh, yes, really, really big learnings from that specific experience. Thank you. And what is the best advice that you have ever received in one sentence or shortly?
Oh, it's actually the same manager. So you can see what impact he had observed, that people were fighting so hard to keep the knowledge that they had. So he said, if I can give you one advice, give away the things that you want to keep. Then the rest of the things will solve itself. And I probably were 22 years at the time. And I thought, oh, okay, what does it mean? But when you look back and actually behaving in that way, that have opened so many new possibilities, so many new spaces to learn, to develop, and also, of course, help others, in places where they need knowledge.
Wow, that sounds really good. And that's quite the big advice for a 22-year-old, as you also said. I love how you already started opening up your career path and the journey from those early stages in your career. But how has your professional path evolved?
Mm-hmm.
And also, what have been the turning points in your career?
Yeah, I think there's been many turning points, and many of these things actually goes back to what we just talked about. You need to dare to try new things. You need to dare to do mistakes. I think that's important. And I have sort of developed my learning journey that way. So I started off as a teacher. I started to write course documentation and that sort of things. Then I went into e-learning, and that was, I would say, quite new. That was probably around, if you see, when could this have been? Maybe 1994, 1995. So it's quite long ago. But I started off, with this e-learning, and from that, I think the biggest shift from being many smaller companies, I got the opportunity to join Lotus at the time, and then Lotus were acquired by IBM, and that took my learning path in a new way. So I was working as a consultant for some time. And then I got the opportunity to work on knowledge sharing, interesting enough. So I headed up something called transformation management, and did that and was teaching the topic as well, both to new hires and to customers. And the IBM itself was a really good school, because with that sort of size of a company, you have a chance, to try many different things. And I led a team for quite many years, and I was also part of many different teams, both globally and locally. That gave a lot of different ways of working. And then I got a really, really interesting piece, and that is around the R&D organization, which is, of course, the heart of a company like Ericsson. So here I have got the opportunity to learn a different audience and see how could we help them to develop in the best possible way.
For once again, how long have you been with Ericsson now?
This is now my 7th year, son.
Okay. All right.
So
quite a journey.
Time flies when you have fun.
Oh, yes, exactly. So, Katarina, I know that you are talking a lot about complexity and uncertainty that are really big topics today. And I think that within today's organizations, the complexity and the speed of change has increased quite a lot. So I am sure that that has also had a big effect on your career path and how your journey has evolved. So what is your approach in corporate learning today, and how has it changed, evolved, and developed during your career journey?
Oh, wow. Okay. Yes. So I think I think first of all, when we are in learning, we both have a huge possibility to make things easier for people to understand or do things differently and so on. So I almost would say it should be a rule or whatever the word would be, that we should really take the complexity and make that more simplistic, and also be able to take that simplistic thing and scale it so more can learn from it. But in order to do that, I also believe that we in learning, we need to be at the forefront. Many times we need to drive the change and come up there with the ideas and be the ones listening. What's going on outside? What's going on internally? What's going on in the bigger teams, in the smaller context? And bring that together and be able to put that on the table as a proposition. Okay, I see this. This is how it's now. We want us to go here. Would you like to be with me on this change? Should we do this together? And Oh, now I talk a lot, but I think this togetherness is also hugely important to succeed with it. So you need to bring together everyone who can be of help in this
Mm.
change. So the team that you create and the ability to create the team together have a vision where you're going, that will be hugely important for the success. It's okay if it doesn't work out super well. You will learn from that and you will do it better next time.
Oh, I love it how you are taking all of the people together and really thinking how to engage them and how to bring joy and how to bring motivation. And also, I think that that is then kind of the basis and the ground for experimenting and exploring together, also learning from the failures and turning those into the positive assets for the future.
Yeah, can I take an example?
Please do.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So currently, what we are doing, and I have huge hopes so that this will be something really good, because we see that we really need to improve both our pre-onboarding as well as the on-site onboarding, or when you have put your feet on the ground for day one in Ericsson. We need to make that a first-class experience. So it's coming back to connecting people. So now we have put together, I would say, a great team of people from talent acquisition. We have internal designers. We have people from talent management, from learning, from R&D, and the biggest piece that we have got now, that will be the biggest difference maker here, is that we got 70 plus global technical talents who will help to solve the problem for us. How would you actually create this excellent pre-onboarding experience, have it seamlessly flow into your first day of work, and at least 1 year ahead? So working that way, I think we have a big chance to succeed. And I think we will see many interesting solutions. And we also brought in a partner, and that is the Vara group, and they are also helping us to see possibilities, for example, with conversational AI bots
Mm.
or avatars. So I think we will see a lot of things coming out of that. But again, that's the team that are working on this together and to create the future that we would like to see for new people joining our company.
Yeah. You are talking about your own approach to learning, but how is all that aligned with Ericsson approach today? How are those aligned?
Mhm. I think actually today, I mean, you need to be curious in order to learn what you need to learn. For me, to be curious is also important, because learning, to me, we should be at the front. We need to have a perspective of why we should move in a certain direction and so on. And then, of course, being able again, to network with everyone who can help to drive any change. So curiosity, I mean, that is the big thing, and being, have an innovative mindset and so on. But then, of course, we also have uh, more defined processes of what you need in order to be have a certain role or have a certain level of expertise. As I think everyone who are listening to this, they have the same, I would imagine. But that is, I mean, more exact. Okay, you need to have this certification or you need to have this experience.
Yeah, naturally.
Mhm.
And also if we go from like curiosity and change the context a bit and take a wider perspective on learning, what is your approach to like social learning or collaborative learning, and what is the role of those in your like
Ah,
current work
yeah.
and also the Ericsson's approach?
So I think my answer then will hopefully answer to all these questions. But I mentioned before, that we are having this collaboration between right now, but we
Mm.
are expanding. We are Ericsson, we are Saab, we are ABB, and we are Volvo, a part of Volvo that is everything but cars. And then we have 4 universities as well who are part of this collaboration. And we are working tight together to, at this first stage at least, create Sweden incorporation, if you like, or Sweden AB. So that is what we are trying to achieve. So collaboration in areas which is of relevance to all these parties, and naturally they would be very close to where we as Ericsson also need to be. So we talk about, security, AI, it can be open standards, it could be leadership, and for example, I've been a part of an energy optimization stream, which is of course also really important for these parties. So we are doing that together, which is a huge collaboration on its own. So if I take one of the programs, and we have several, but the one that is more closer to me personally, that is a technical leadership program that we then have developed together. We have co-created with the end users. And of course, it's tightly linked to the business impact that we would like to achieve with that. Being on the program, it is heavy on social learning from one another. They also actually become mentors to others who aspire to be in that role, one day. So that is also part of the learning. When the program is over, so to speak, they have not only been working on real business projects together, we have, I think, done in a very good way of using learning as a vehicle to achieve what we are looking for. So, for example, you can have somebody from Saab and ABB working on an Ericsson project, or an Ericsson person working on a Volvo project, and you learn together. And when you do that, you actually create magic, both from a results perspective, but also to really learning from one another at that top expert level, because you have to start to share knowledge. And that really helps. What we also do, because that became quite clear from the voices we heard from the program, is that we want to continue to work together. We want to have a place to go to, which were, of course, then the very good basis to create a community of practice. And we said, okay, we can help you with the formalities and making sure it can happen, but then you need to own it. So they all come together when we had one graduation for one of the programs, and they were building what they needed as a technical leaders community across the company. So now they are up and running, and they have a year calendar already, how they are meeting both face to face and how they exchange knowledge virtually. I think that may be way of putting collaborative learning into practice.
And I think that it's like a classroom experience of how you can really support the social learning, bring people together to help them to network with each others, to build those relationships where the learning actually can happen, to experiment together, to reflect, I trust, when you're talking about like being mentors to each others, and also to learn together as the whole group. So I think that that's a great way to also showcase how can we support the on-the-job learning, if we say so.
Yeah. And if you want one more, outside that, we have another initiative in Ericsson called Teach for Ericsson. The name may be a little bit misleading, but it's about knowledge sharing from different perspectives. So it could be that you may go out there and teach peers, but you could also be their mentor, for example, or you could be a community of practice leader for something, or you may be an industry leader in your specific topic. But core at it is that you also are a person who would like to be out there and share what you know, either externally or internally. And that is also one of the elements when you are looking for promotion to move from something to something new, that you can actually prove that you are a knowledge sharer and a bridge builder around in the company.
Wow, that sounds really good. And those are the people we really need, the bridge builders and the people to support everyone to get the support needed and to really also find those group to learn with so that we are not alone in those organizations and only focusing on our own expertise.
Yeah, and if I may, I can add something more about that bridge building.
Please.
Yes, a colleague of mine, he has done a vast research in the area of what he calls human network analysis. And it's very, very interesting to see that business success is actually very much linked, with how you network, not only inside your own area, but also outside your day-to-day business area or market area. And it's super clear from his research how that works.
Oh yes, that's music to my ears, as you may also guess. I know that leading in uncertainty and leading in complex environment is really close to your heart, but what does that actually look like in your work?
So if I go back to our leaders, and I think this is not only a manager's responsibility, but we have what we call our 3 leadership principles, which is about providing clarity, develop your people, and make sure you make your results. But on the other hand, it's not only our leaders who should do that, but I think it's something for all of us to always think about. And if everyone are thinking that way, it becomes very strong. But in uncertainty, of course, clarity is number one. I really think so. And regardless if the message may not be what you want to hear, or it could be a new way of working or whatever, you need to be as clear as possible. And even if you don't know what the answer is, it's better to be clear about that. But if you don't know.
We have kind of now been talking about how is the learning organized today and what are your approaches to learning in your current role at Ericsson. But I am 100% sure that you are also thinking a lot about the future and the future of learning and the future of organizational development that you also mentioned there. So when you think about the capabilities your organization needs for the future, your team needs for the future, what do you see are the most critical ones?
Okay, so now it's, me personally that talks, but I really think this bridge building will become hugely relevant. And of course, everything when it comes to what we call power skills, being able to look at information and understand, what does this really mean, when we have AI, working with us, and being also critical, but at the same time, have a big business focus. What is the change that we want to do? And how would you do that, and what type of skills are needed? Of course, we in learning, and I'm sure it's the same for the people who are listening to this, we know that a smaller part really of learning is a course that you go to. But we need to find opportunity somehow to learn, and making sure that what you need to learn is available somehow, but also in projects being able to disseminate the learning from that project, create new learning from that, and provide it and have it available for people who maybe are a little newer to a certain topic. I have had the opportunity to actually be a jury member on a couple of hackathons recently. And that is, both for me, a fantastic way of learning things that is sometimes very technical, but done in a really good way. So that type of thing, when people come together, cross functions, cross countries, cross roles, and learn together, I think that is probably part of a recipe for how we need to learn going forward. And learn on a project could also be an example. What we are doing more in particular a colleague of mine, she's working on how could we really bring projects as a way of learning new things. So imagine, I mean, how it usually is. You send people to a certain program or a course. Okay, they are very enthusiastic. They come back, and then things may be kind of similar as it was when they went on that program. So what she is trying to do now with this project initiative is to identify really tough projects as the highest level that only will be open to that skill level already, but a possibility to work on something directly without necessarily leaving your job because you maybe want to be there. And it's an excellent way of testing the waters in a new space. Then you may feel, this was really interesting. Maybe I should look to move myself to a new business area or another market or a different role.
I think that it's amazing how you are talking about the importance of networking, for example, and then actually living that through in your own life, like being part of those networking events or joining those hackathons and being there in the jury. To me, at least, it sounds like those are also for yourself ways to keep active and keep yourself learning constantly.
Absolutely. And when you're out there and, if you're asked to be a part of the panel or maybe talk about a certain topic and so on, you always meet really interesting people who have different experiences than you have. And those conversations, make me very energized and create a need to learn even more.
Wow, that is a nice topic. Also bringing joy and the motivation and inspiration into the play when we're talking about learning. You have led a learning in so many different contexts and across many different organizations as well, and clearly have really a deep understanding of what it takes to make learning a big part of organizational development. So I'd love to talk a little bit about how learning connects to business. Of course, you have mentioned that a few times already, but how can we really make learning the core asset for the organizational success?
Yeah, so we have, one way how we go about what we call our global critical skills. And that is, of course, to have this ear on the ground, having interviews with all our business leaders and so on. But it's not only about having those interactions. You, of course, need to verify your own interpretation of what you think you heard also, with other people in the organization as well. So that is one way. But I also, if we go back to these leadership principles about delivering results, you need to ask what should be the result from this activity and making sure you do that. And if you are in sales, maybe that is a little bit easier because it's like so clear if you have succeeded or not. Either you made the deal or you filled the pipeline or you did progress the pipeline. So it's easier. But nevertheless, you need to have a really clear goal on where you are going and then develop the solution from there. And also having the commitment from the leaders and the managers that this is something that they really buy into. And what is their role in this change? And what are they going to do differently with the teams in order for this new way of working or new knowledge to stick?
So is there a clear tip or a few tips how you really get leaders involved and how do you get them engaged and how do you really get them to support the learning needs that you just mentioned?
Yeah, I think in that perspective, we are also sellers. I think we are key account sellers in one way. I mean, you need to have also a point of view that you can start from. To come in with a complete blank paper, that will be really hard. So at least you need to have something to offer. What you propose, maybe you end up with a completely different solution or something wildly different. But still, you need to have something on mind and bring that to the table on why you are doing things.
Oh, yes. I love it how you are talking about like also creating value for them and being like the internal seller on that as well. Sounds really good.
Because one thing that I have found is that, of course, we need to be cost effective. We always need to do that. But we should also remember what is actually the biggest cost when we ask people to be out of their normal job. I mean, what does it really cost to have somebody out for 2-3 days or whatever we are asking for, or even an hour if it's for many?
Yes.
And making sure that it's a clear value out of that time. So that is probably the biggest cost, even if the solution has a price.
Yeah. And also there, I think that the curiosity must be really a crucial thing. How do we get people to stay curious, to get motivated? Because that is also really expensive if we are not getting them on board.
Exactly. And that also, goes back, I think, to very early, bring in your end users and make sure that at least you have, if we talk about the new solution, a new learning solution, at least you have hit 80% good. And then be very open to change as you go along, if need be. An interesting story that I got from a participant in a program that we had was that actually this person had even decided that maybe I should move from this company and I maybe want to be something else. And then coming on that program and said it was like values from day one. And I couldn't resign because I wanted to go to module 2 and module 3 and 4. And the whole thing ended up with actually tailoring the job to become much more to what that person really was energized by. It's also, I think, heartwarming in this job that you can actually have that, make that difference to people.
Katarina, you mentioned before that now you are kind of talking from your really personal perspective. If we kind of get back to the Ericsson perspective, how is Ericsson helping their employees to learn?
In fact, I actually think this comes in that case, both, it comes from the top and it comes also from the organization and where you are on a more of a daily basis. But our CEO, for example, he clearly states often that learning is not optional.
Wow.
I think that is a clear statement. So that really means, and also looking to our leadership principles, the one in the middle is to develop your people, which also, of course, goes for yourself. You need to develop yourself to stay relevant.
We touched on some truly important and valuable lessons here together, but as we know, the real power of L&D is when we don't learn alone or we don't try to just tick the boxes on those self-led courses. That's also the reason why we have now created this podcast, to hear these professional voices. And also we have created an L&D Leaders Community that you are also part of. And that is a space for ambitious, future-orientated professionals to connect, explore, and also learn from each other's experiences. We'd love to see you there. Thank you so much, Katarina. It was a lot of fun.
Thanks a lot.